Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group has been helping families here in the Huntsville area plan for a successful retirement. Chris strives to understand all of your financial needs to help guide you on the path to your retirement goals, creating income in retirement, maximizing your savings, and minimizing taxes. Chris has the strategies you need to help you sustain a successful retirement. Welcome to the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Preparing for and saving for retirement can be a challenge for all of us. But for small business owners, there are some unique concerns and challenges that we're going to spend some time today talking about. How you can prepare for retirement if you aren't retiring from a corporate job with a 401k. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. I am here with Chris Wallace. He's a certified financial planner and owner of WG Financial Group. Chris, great to see you again.
Great to see you as well, Lou Ann.
Always great to be here. And this is a really good topic. I love this because you are a small business owner yourself.
Correct.
And so I'm sure you do help a lot of small business owners too, do you?
We do. And you know, the open there and talking about the challenges is, you know, it's the American dream, I guess, in a way to kind of own your own business, but it does come with its own sets of problems. There's a lot more responsibility that you have as a small business owner that when you're an employee of a company that, you know, they shoulder some of that risk and that burden, if you will, and you just go in, do your job, and you get to leave. Well, as a business owner, and those business owners watching this show today can understand this, you really never take a day off. You really almost never take an hour off mentally, because you seem to always be working on the business mentally. You're thinking about, you know, how can you improve things and, you know, maybe generate more business, or, you know, do I need to lay people off? Do I need to hire more people? I mean, there's always something going on as a small business owner. So there's a lot of challenges that come along with it.
How do you think, or how prepared do you think small business owners are for their own retirement?
Yeah, so this is tough because when you're, you know, according to SCORE, which is an organization that supports small businesses, only 34% of small business owners have retirement plans. And only about 40% of them think that they can retire by age 65. So if you just think about that for a minute, you're like, okay, I own my own business. Everything should be great, but you don't have a retirement plan. Most don't. Or you don't think that you're going to be able to retire by 65. So at that point, you have to ask yourself, is it really worth owning my own business, or am I better off being an employee of another company? So it's definitely, like I said, challenging from that perspective. Because you pour so much energy into running the business, but there's other things inside of the business that still need to be there, like a retirement plan that is going to get you to where you want to get to, which is to ultimately retire at some point.
You hope.
You hope. Yeah, that's right.
Right. So we also know that small business owners are struggling from the fallout from the pandemic, and a January 2022 report from the National Federation of Independent Business says that optimism is at an all-time low. Like 61% of small businesses were forced to increase prices, to offset costs. Yeah. So a lot of small business owners, Chris, might be ready to call it quits with all the economic problems that we've had over the past few years.
Yeah, it's really tough because we've seen, you know, inflation take off, and the cost of goods that small businesses purchased, they've gone up. And so with that, the businesses had to increase their price. And you don't really want to do that. I mean, you want to do it because you want to maintain profitability, because that's typically what happens in a business. They usually don't eat the cost, they pass it along to the consumer. But still, there is the, you know, you don't really want to have to do that, but you have to do it, or else you're going to lose money as a business. So optimism with prices as high as they are, inflation still kind of sticky, as we all know. I think the economy is starting to put pressure on the economy, is what I'm trying to say here. And I think that is kind of crushing the optimism, which is kind of sad in a way, because small businesses drive America. The more small business opportunities and growth that we have in the small business sector, the better the economy does overall.
True. So one of the challenges for people who own or, you know, even work for a small business is the lack of that employer-sponsored retirement account. So I want to talk about options for retirement savings for those people who, you know, work for a big employer, or who don't work for a big employer.
Right. I know exactly where you're going with that. And that's kind of what I alluded to earlier. So when you're a small business owner, you're worried about the business, versus if you're an employee of a business, you go in, you get hired as an employee, then that business already has a structure set up for the retirement savings, they have the health insurance, they have all of that in place already. And you really don't have to think about it. You just accept the job, your employee, and it just kind of happens automatically. When you're a small business owner, you have to set that up yourself. And I have seen it where a small business is not contributing to the right, style of retirement plan that they should to really maximize their retirement savings. For example, they're contributing to an IRA when they have the ability to do what's called a SEP IRA. And that's another alternative for small business owners to be able to contribute to. There's also something called a solo K. And I see this as being one of the most underutilized small business plans out there, especially if you're a single business owner. For a solo K, you can set that up and you can put a ton of money into those things. And again, one of the biggest things I see with small business owners is they're trying to itemize away all of their income so they pay lower taxes. But you can also offset your taxes by contributing to the right type of retirement plan. And some of these retirement plans, like a SEP IRA, a solo K, if you're a single business owner or a single owner business, you can pack a lot of money into those types of retirement plans. So there's a lack of knowledge in knowing which type of plan, and there's also restrictions on the type of plan as well, depending on the size of the business.
So for everyone, that transition into retirement is going to pose some challenges, right? Mm-hmm. We might experience a lifestyle change when we leave our job behind. So we need to talk about how, this is what you guys do. You guide people through this transition, saving all during their careers to now you're living in retirement and you're pulling from your savings.
Yeah, I think as a small business owner, sometimes you may have the choice to not fully retire. You may step back and do what's called a phased-in retirement. So if you own a business, maybe instead of working 5 days a week, you're scaled back to maybe 2 days a week. You've got, people that are trustworthy running your business, and you're able to kind of glide into retirement and kind of maintain that same level of lifestyle. To cut the income off cold turkey, in other words, to sell the business, for example, and then to just go into retirement, that is going to stir up a lot of emotions. And especially if your business is not worth like a heavy valuation to where you're going to get enough money to help fund your retirement, there can be some challenges there. But to your point, that's what we do for clients all day long and prospects that come see us as we talk about how to get them through retirement without running out of money.
All right. Thank you for all of this. Some small business owners face unique challenges in preparing for retirement. If you are your own boss, this next segment is for you, because we're going to walk you through how to prepare that exit strategy and some of the other factors that you need to consider as you head into retirement.
You have a club for every scenario, a driver for the long holes, wedges to get you over the hazards, and a putter for when you need a touch of finesse. What about your retirement? Will you have enough to play the back nine? Call to set your 15-minute phone visit today, and let's find out. Get a second set of eyes on your retirement plan.
There are some things you can't avoid, but you can avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. You may think your taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not always true. In fact, sometimes your tax liability could go up. We're offering a free guide to show how you may be able to pay fewer taxes in retirement. Learn how different retirement accounts are taxed and options to help make your retirement income more tax efficient, all in easy to understand terms. Download this free tax guide now to help keep what's yours and avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. Just when you may want to forget your age, Uncle Sam says not so fast. Knowing your age is more important than ever when it comes to taking your required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Legislation just changed the age requirement, and not accounting for that could impact your retirement plan. It could be key to not overpaying on taxes in retirement. So remember, when it comes to RMDs, age is more than just a number. Before your next birthday, call today to secure a strategy for the RMD age change and your retirement.
You have a club for every scenario, a driver for the long holes, wedges to get you over the hazards, and a putter for when you need a touch of finesse. What about your retirement? Will you have enough to play the back nine? Call to set your 15-minute phone visit today, and let's find out. Get a second set of eyes on your retirement plan.
You're watching the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Welcome back to the show. Small business owners face some unique challenges in preparing for retirement. If you're your own boss, things look a little different for you as you prepare for retirement. You don't really get to just pick that retirement date and walk away from your job, do you? So, Chris, one step that small business owners actually overlook is that business exit strategy. So I want to talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, I think as a small business owner and as you're planning for retirement, sometimes that's a long way off. I think you do have to kind of start to identify that date. And sometimes it's hard. Like you may have just started your business 5 years ago and then maybe you're looking to retire in 5 years. So there's not a lot of time to plan. But I think, what every business owner should have on their team is a good estate attorney and a good tax attorney. And then maybe an attorney that specializes in how to set your business up properly. I think there's the old saying that we said it before, you don't know what you don't know. And I find that a lot in the small business space is you know how to set up an LLC, maybe you set up an S corporation, you've started this business, but could your business structure be a little bit more efficient? Could it be a little bit more tax efficient? As you near the end of your working years and you're thinking about, getting rid of the business, maybe selling the business, what is the best way to do that? And I think identifying that is really important. How you're going to sell the business if your choice is to sell the business. What's the most tax efficient way to do that? Do you want to remain on as an employee? As a matter of fact, if a company buys your company, they may want you to remain on as an employee because that will keep some of the clientele that you've built up over the years. So I think you have to look at all of those things. I think you also have to look at the tax implication of things. When you sell a business, there will be some capital gains taxes in some cases. So you want to work with a CPA, maybe a tax attorney on ways to lower that tax obligation if possible, maybe spread things out over a number of years. But I think planning up front is key. What I would not do is wait until the last year and say, oh, I'm going to sell my business. And then you have not done any planning where you could have done some additional planning on the front side to make things a little bit smoother.
Sure. We're talking to small business owners today, but there are similar steps that everybody should make as they get closer to retirement. Another step for small business owners is to appraise the value of their business, of their assets, and their investments.
Yeah, for sure. I think as a small business owner, it's yours. It's your baby. You've created it. And I think it's really easy to overvalue your business. You tend to think it's worth more than it really is. So you mentioned, getting the appraisal, getting the evaluation done of the business, having the business valued. Because I think one of the worst things that you can do is think that it's worth more than it really is. And then you get all the way to retirement, you get ready to sell the business, and it's not worth nearly what you thought it was. So that's an area where we're really proud. I'm really proud of what I do to serve the community in financial planning. But there's a valuation aspect to my business, and what somebody places like a real number on it may be drastically different than what I value my business. And I would be willing to bet that there are multiple small business owners out there that are probably in the same boat. So having that business valuation is really important. And I think that can also, depending on the value of the business, if you plan to sell it in retirement, can also determine how much funding you're going to have to carry you into retirement. So the valuation is a big deal, and I think everybody needs to look at that.
Is that something you guys do, or do they go to an attorney?
We do not do business valuation.
All right. Let's get to a final tip for small business owners in preparing for retirement, and that is do not touch your retirement savings until needed.
Yeah, that's when we talk about small business owners and, contributing to a retirement plan, those are retirement funds. They are called retirement funds for a reason, and they are to be left alone until retirement. If you're working for the employer, and you're an employee of an employer, you're putting into a 401k. Those funds are designed, to last you, or to last you through retirement. You shouldn't tap those until retirement. The same thing with small business owners. It's just easier as a small business owner. You have a little closer access. You're closer to those accounts, if you will. So leaving them alone and letting them accumulate is the best thing for most people, but also funding them at the rates you should be funding them is really important. And I want to talk about one last thing that we really did as we're going through these questions, I thought might be a good idea. I think it's really important for small business owners to look to mentors, to hire mentors, work with other small business owners, because there are things that you can learn from other people that you just don't know. And that is one of the things that I've seen as a small business owner is early on in my career, I didn't network with enough other advisory firms to find out what other people are doing in the industry to serve their clients at a better level. And I think when I was in manufacturing, I have a history in manufacturing. I was in and out of all of these different manufacturing and assembly plants. So I got to see all of the new technology, all the new robots, all the new assembly lines, how people were doing things. I could take that knowledge back to my plant. But I think as a small business owner, you're so entrenched and engulfed in the day-to-day activities of what you're doing in your small business that you don't get out and see what other people are doing. That's number one. So network with other small business owners. There's also an aspect of mentorship that needs to happen, because here again, we tend to think of ourselves as the best. We're the best and we are the best leader. Well, there are a lot of small business owners, and I'll put myself in that category as well, that need additional leadership training. As you're working with your staff, the leadership and the way that you lead that organization is really important. The culture that you're building at that organization is really important. And you do that and you establish that a lot of times by working with other mentors that can help you build that within your company. So I think just as a piece of advice, I know we're trying to get to retirement, those things that you do before retirement are really, really important. And that leadership and that culture, listen to podcasts. That's a good way to do it. Seek out people that do this type of training, maybe attend some seminars, some conventions to understand what's going on inside of these companies. Because again, we can be so busy in the day-to-day lives of that small business. And I can attest to that. I wake up every day thinking about the business. I pretty much lay down every night to go to sleep thinking about the business. But we have to think about our employees and how we can make the lives of not only our clients better, but also our employees as well.
Right. Very good. Great information. I know, you are a mentor to, Graham, who we have on radio, and Richard as well.
Staff.
So it's fun to see you at work with these younger guys. Not that you're that old, but just kidding. All right. Thank you so much for all of this. Straight ahead, Chris answers some of your retirement questions. Stay with us.
There are some things you can't avoid, but you can avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. You may think your taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not always true. In fact, sometimes your tax liability could go up. We're offering a free guide to show how you may be able to pay fewer taxes in retirement. Learn how different retirement accounts are taxed and options to help make your retirement income more tax efficient, all in easy to understand terms. Download this free tax guide now to help keep what's yours and avoid overpaying taxes in retirement.
You have a club for every scenario. A driver for the long holes. Wedges to get you over the hazards. And a putter for when you need a touch of finesse. What about your retirement? Will you have enough to play the back nine? Call to set your 15-minute phone visit today and let's find out. Get a second set of eyes on your retirement plan.
There are some things you can't avoid, but you can avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. You may think your taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not always true. In fact, sometimes your tax liability could go up. We're offering a free guide to show how you may be able to pay fewer taxes in retirement. Learn how different retirement accounts are taxed and options to help make your retirement income more tax efficient, all in easy to understand terms. Download this free tax guide now to help keep what's yours and avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. Just when you may want to forget your age, Uncle Sam says not so fast. Knowing your age is more important than ever when it comes to taking your required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Legislation just changed the age requirement, and not accounting for that could impact your retirement plan. It could be key to not overpaying on taxes in retirement. So remember, when it comes to RMDs, age is more than just a number. Before your next birthday, call today to secure a strategy for the RMD age change and your retirement. There are some things you can't avoid, but you can avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. You may think your taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not always true. In fact, sometimes your tax liability could go up. We're offering a free guide to show how you may be able to pay fewer taxes in retirement. Learn how different retirement accounts are taxed and options to help make your retirement income more tax efficient, all in easy to understand terms. Download this free tax guide now to help keep what's yours and avoid overpaying taxes in retirement.
You're watching the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Time now for your questions about retirement. You ready for this, Chris?
I love this section.
I know you do. All right, first question comes from Rick in Owens Crossroads. We've had a family business for 3 generations, and one of my sons plans to keep it going. I'm planning to step back and let my son take over in about 10 years. How could I figure out my exit strategy when it's time to retire?
Yeah, so I think it is time, if you're not working with a financial planner, maybe to sit down with one. Again, as I always say, if it's with us, great. If it's not, find somebody that you trust that you can sit down with and go over your situation. So I think you're at a point, you're 10 years out. So we always recommend 7 to 10 years out that people start looking at that and you start building your income plan. One of the key things here is it sounds like that you are not going to sell the company, that a family member is going to continue it. So the question would be if you're going to work in the company, and if so, in what capacity, and what does that income stream look like in conjunction with your Social Security claiming strategy, in addition to your other retirement savings assets that you have. Once you figure all of that out and you work with a planner, then build out a financial plan to allow you to go off into retirement and kind of enjoy that same level of lifestyle.
Okay, very good. Next question comes from Joanna in Monrovia. And she says, I'm retiring soon and I'm afraid of the stock market. I'm thinking about just investing in CDs because I don't want to lose money in the stock market casino. Is this a good idea?
Yeah, so let's address the term stock market casino.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard that term a lot, the stock market casino.
Huh.
Well, let me just say this. The longer you sit in a casino, the more likely you are to go broke. The longer you stay invested, assuming you have the time horizon, the more likely you are to make money. So my question back would be, why are you afraid of the stock market? Now, I'm not at all advocating that all of her money be invested in stocks or the stock market, but I'm also just trying to calm the nerves of, I don't know that you should necessarily be afraid of the stock market. I think you should be respectful of the stock market, and you eliminate some of that bouncing around, because that's what she's worried about, with good diversification. So putting all of your money in CDs, I think, is maybe not the best idea. Maybe for some of it, okay, I can buy into that, but you're still going to need the portfolio to grow a little bit. You're still going to need to have some probably market exposure to allow those investments to grow. And keep in mind, you have what you have, assuming you have retirement savings, because you invested in the market inside of probably a retirement plan. So don't really completely abandon that. What I would advise here is sitting down and building a plan. A lot of times what I have found with people is there is a fear, and there needs to be a healthy level of fear, because fear does drive us to do some things. But I do think the more important part here is building a plan. And once a plan is put in place, then you don't necessarily have to be afraid. You just have to trust the plan or trust the process, as they would say.
Right. I like your word respect. We have to respect it.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Very good. Next question. It comes from Troy in Gurley. I've worked hard all my life. How can I help ensure my retirement years are as fulfilling and enjoyable as possible without having to worry about my finances?
Yeah, so that's a big thing. You've got most retirees, they want to go into retirement and not worry about the day-to-day, investments and how they're doing, and they don't want to look at their accounts all the time. So building out a solid plan, one of the key things here in doing that, I firmly believe, is having a sustainable income stream. Because remember, when you're working, that job income, that's providing that income, and you're comfortable. Every other week or every month or however often you're paid, that money's coming into that bank account. If you can recreate that the same way in retirement, then it brings about a level of calmness, because you have the money coming in, you can pay the bills. That's one of the most critical things, in my opinion, to allow you to kind of relax during retirement. Because remember, if you have enough income coming in, it covers everything. You're not exactly worried about the longevity of your retirement. You're not worried about the day-to-day bouncing around of the investments.
Right. Very good. Okay. Our next question, as we dig into this mailbag, Dan in New Hope. Chris, I've heard you mention risk tolerance and risk capacity before. Could you explain those two again?
Kind of crazy. All three of these questions are kind of in that same ballpark.
Yeah, we didn't mean it that way.
Yeah, so it just kind of worked out. So it's great, actually.
Yeah.
So risk tolerance is what you feel. So a lot of times when you go to an advisory firm, you'll answer like 5 questions. What's your risk tolerance? How would you feel if then you're answering like 5 questions? It's how you feel.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of the stock market, the previous question. I'm afraid of the stock market. That's a feeling. That's an emotion. That's risk tolerance. Risk capacity is you have enough retirement assets to be able to assume a certain level of risk. That's risk capacity. But the feeling part of it is, I don't like stocks. But the plan may say you have enough money where you don't need this money. It's really for the kids. So you have a larger capacity for risk. And that's really the difference between risk tolerance and risk capacity. Risk tolerance is what you're feeling, that emotion. Risk capacity is the plan. How much capacity for risk do you really have?
Okay.
Great question.
Yeah, that is a good question, Dan. All right, here's my question to you. What are people mostly coming into you about? What are the retirement questions they're having?
Yeah, one of the biggest, obviously the biggest question is, do I have enough saved? Do I have enough saved where I can make it all the way through retirement without running out of money? That's going to be the number one question that we get. The number two question is, okay, if I have enough money, what happens if I pass away? Will my spouse be okay? In other words, if I die and my income's gone, will my spouse be okay? Think of it, if you're a federal government employee, if you were on the FERS system, if you pass away, at best, your spouse is going to receive 50% of your income. And let's say you're both collecting Social Security, at best, one of those Social Securities has gone away. So this is a very legit question and concern for a lot of families that we work with, especially if they're a federal government employee, they're collecting Social Security. What happens if one of them passes away? Because you're talking in some cases nearly a 50% reduction of income, depending on the amount of the lower income earning Social Security.
Right.
So, will my spouse be okay? I don't know. Will they? It depends on your life insurance situation. It depends on how much other assets you have saved. So that's a big one. The other big one is long-term care. There's been a lot of memos that have gone out in the mail from companies where premiums are going up with long-term care. People have paid 10, 15, 20 years in some cases on a traditional long-term care policy. They get the mail, they open it up, and their premiums going up by 20, 30, 40% in some cases. So that's a big concern because studies show that 70% of us are going to need some level of long-term care in the future. And because of that, I think that is a big risk for a lot of retirees. And I see people coming into the office asking that. The people that really come in asking about it, they've had parents that have just gone through it and they've seen how expensive that is funding long-term care can be. So they'll come in asking us those questions. So those are probably the big three that we see a lot right now.
All right, very good. Well, that's all the time we have for this segment today. But if you want to know ways to generate your lifetime income, reduce your tax bill, and maintain that lifestyle that you have right now in retirement, reach out to start planning your ideal retirement. For Chris Wallace of WG Financial Group, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. We hope you have a great day and an even better retirement.
This program was sponsored by WG Financial Group, where your retirement matters.